Previously, in the dungeon of the Mad Mage. The party found themselves deep in the 6th floor of the dungeon, the lost levels of King Malair, whose tomb they was searching for. And while the search had not been fruitless, the party had yet to find their quarry. They had faced many challenges. As they ran low on resources, the party began to consider whether or not it would be wise to continue searching, especially after Wolf, their Fey shapeshifter companion, did not return from its scouting mission. Ultimately, the party decided to continue on. They headed westward, finding an illusion they attributed to Halaster before heading further west. After a series of turns, they found themselves before a large room strewn with rubble. Bones could hear creatures within, waiting for them, and so the party made ready, jumped into action. Ashes transformed, rushed into the room, hoping to draw the creatures to himself and provide Bones, Matashtai, and Ezrah with an opportunity to attack from afar. But the two Umber Hulks he faced seemed aware that there were more attackers. To complicate matters, just at that moment, Matashtai's eyes went dark, and a shadowy sigil appeared behind him. He dashed into the room, and momentarily seemed to lose all control of himself. One of the Umber Hulks took advantage of this moment to attack, and the party began a desperate struggle as whatever it was that was afflicting Matashtai continued, ultimately leading the monk to being knocked unconscious. The rest of the party were still able to defeat the two Umber Hulks, though not without injury, and not without the aid of their new ally, the Zorn named Moss-Covered Rock near stream. Matashtai's affliction continued for some time after the Umber Hulks were dead, ultimately leading to the party needing to restrain him. Eventually, though, it did abate. The party surmised that the effect had been caused by the shadow that had touched Matashtai when they had passed through one of the gates. The party then faced some tough decisions. They were incredibly wounded, and had serious doubts about whether they would be able to survive another battle like the one they had just experienced, especially if Matashtai lost himself again. There was discussion of returning to the surface to rest, and to research the effect Matashtai was now under, perhaps even the gates, or the presence of the shadow itself. But in order to do those things, they would have to travel through several floors of the dungeon, or take another gate and risk being exposed once more to the shadow. It also meant that they would have to stall their quest, at least for a day or two, and potentially longer if necessary. After much deliberation, the party decided to first meet with Skella and see if the half-Dwargar had any information about the gates. Skella did not, though she did tell the party that one of her companions was similarly affected by the shadow under the mountain. It also seemed that the majority of the Dwargar had gone more hostile to the party in their absence, though Skella seemed no different. Ultimately, the party decided to return to the surface. Skella seemed initially unperturbed by this, under the assumption that the party would be back in a few hours, or a day at most. When the party explained that they might be gone for much longer, Skella's attitude took a sharp turn. She did not argue with the party, but instead said that the terms of their previous deal said nothing about what would happen if the Dwargar found their way into the heart of the mountain on their own. Meaning that if the party was away for too long, the Dwargar might find and keep the heart to themselves. This was not an option that Bones was willing to consider, and he made it clear to the party that he would do what was needed to make certain that he could use the heart.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
The party decided that though it was dangerous, they would need to travel by gate in order to be safe and timely. They headed back to the Rust Gate in order to head back to the Arcane Chambers. Within the portal, they were once again chased by the shadow, and it once again struck out at Matashtai, this time knocking the Kalashtar unconscious. Deposited back on the second floor with Matashtai still breathing but inert form with them, the party elected to have Ashes carry the monk out of the dungeon. Along the way, they faced off against a pair of owlbears that they almost killed before letting go, only to find out shortly thereafter that the goblins of the Tall Market had somehow domesticated the owlbears. At least somewhat. This led to the goblins being somewhat miffed with the party, who, under the current circumstances, responded rather shortly. Ultimately, though, the party was able to make it back to the surface with the unconscious Matashtai. There was a flurry of activity in the yawning portal, but shortly after, Ezra secured a coach to the nearby Temple of Kelemvor in the dock ward that Matashtai had built a relationship with. There, the party found the two old priests of Kelemvor, Bryce and Godiva. But before anything could be done, Matashtai woke up. And quite contrary to his normal attitude, he disagreed with everything, to the point that he stood up and began walking out of the shrine. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.